Hey y'all, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel, Eat, Drink, and Be Reading. And today I'm going to talk about my top picks for my summer reading. So specifically, I'm getting these picks from Anne Bogel's Summer Reading Guide. Anne Bogel is a blogger, book blogger at modernmrsdarcy.com, and she's a podcaster, the host of What Should I Read Next? She's where I've gotten many of my book recommendations for the past few years. And every summer she puts out a summer reading guide. So she reads, I don't know, at least 100 probably books that are coming out between like January and August, and she picks her top 20 to 30 for her readers to read in the summer. And so I went through that list this morning. It came out today. On Thursday, I will put this up on Friday, and I picked the top 5 I'm most interested in. I've actually already put my like a hold on all the books, the ebooks at my library for all but one that hasn't come out yet. And so fingers crossed, I'm trying to pick, I think I'm going to buy 1 or 2 of them. I'm trying not to buy too many books because these are my only bookshelves, and we have to share them with the printer and with all our office supplies right now. But we are in the process of looking for a house, and my next house will have many more bookshelves. But until then, trying to be careful with how many books I buy. But I thought I'd talk about my top 5, and I'll also link her website down below. I think you have to sign up for her email list to get the reading guide, but in case you want it, I'll link it down below. Okay, the first book that I'm excited about for this summer is called Codename Helene. It's by Ariel Lawhorn, It's a World War II historical fiction novel that tells the story of Nancy Wake. This book is already out, so you could go buy it if you're interested. Nancy Wake was a French resistance hero. True, she's a real person, and I'm pretty sure, and this is her story, and she was #1 on the Gestapo's most wanted list by the end of the war. And so it's her story, and it kind of gives me the Huntress feels, although this time it's the bad guys hunting the good guys rather than the other way around, and the Nightingale vibes. And so I loved The Nightingale. It's one of my favorite books of all time, by Kristen Hanna. The Huntress, Katie Quinn, I believe, is the author. I read that last year, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm really interested in Codename Helene. I do not know if I'm saying that correctly. The next book on the list is another World War II historical fiction novel. It takes place right after the war. And I have actually seen it on BookTube, so you might have already heard about it. And it's The Jane Austen Society by Natalie Jenner. And this one is not out yet. It comes out May 26th. And so Jane Austen spent her last days in this small little village of Chawton. And things in this village are really hard right after World War II, which is the true story of most of the world, but particularly of Britain. But several of the villagers still kind of find solace in Jane Austen's works, and they find pride in the fact that this is where she lived, and there's this local business who wants to buy Jane Austen's home and property and raise it and make it something else, and so the villagers are trying to stop it. This gives me huge Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society vibes, which was my absolute favorite book of last year. And so when I was reading that, I was like, I have to. And I'm reading a Jane Austen right now. I just bought another Jane Austen that I'm hoping to read later in the year. So it seems kind of like the perfect book. And I can't wait for that one. I'm pre-ordering it today from my indie bookstore. Okay, so the third book is The City We Became by N.K. Jemison. This one is also out. I think actually the rest of them are all already are all already out and available. That's the word I was looking for. The City We Became is an urban fantasy. It's the first in a trilogy. And in this series, every city has a soul that finally reaches a point where it comes to life. So Rome and Sao Paulo, A couple others have already come to life, and now it's New York's time to be born. But the city has just had this really gruesome attack, and it is weakened from that, and it's too weak to be fully born. So there's 5 people or avatars, one for each of the boroughs that must rise up to destroy the so-called woman in white, the person who's attacking the city, I think. This is very, very different than my usual read. And that's why I chose it. I've never read an urban fantasy. It was actually one of the books that Anne put on her like top 5 list. And so I figured this was a great place to start. And I want to read some different things. And so The City We Became is kind of top of my list, and I'm really, really far down the hold list, so I may end up just buying that one. All right. 4th, for something very different, is called Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. It's a young adult, I think, kind of contemporary romance novel. Jack and Pepper are classmates at a private school, I think, in New York, and each manage the social media accounts for their families' businesses. They both own different kinds of restaurants. I can't remember. I think one's a diner and one is something else. But they don't know that the other one is the manager for those restaurants, and they get in this Twitter battle about a grilled cheese recipe, but they don't know who they're actually fighting, and so I think there's this like friends, enemies to lovers. Oh, again, we come up with a better word than lovers. It's so gross. This kind of story, which I love. I think I think teenage romance is very sweet and fun to read about. It sounds quick and charming and cute. And you guys, you know, eat, drink, and be reading. I will read anything that has to do with the restaurant. And there's 2 in this, and I'm really excited about that. So that is kind of my big YA pick for the summer. And I am really, really excited about that one. It seems so fun. My last book that I want to read, and I might be the most excited about this one, and I don't really know why, but it is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Linus is the main character. I think he's in his 40s, and he's a caseworker for these magical children, and he visits the orphanages where they are living, and these orphanages are sanctioned by the Department of Magical Youth, and he thinks that these orphanages are crucial for these children, that it keeps them safe and helps them. And then he has to report on an orphanage on an island for all the magical children that are considered misfits. And the visit makes him kind of question everything he thought he knew about the world and about himself. I don't know, misfit magical children? Like, yes, please. That sounds wonderful. It takes place on an island, which feels perfect for summer reading. I think it's going to be really heartwarming and fun, and probably like deeper than I'm imagining. I have a feeling I'll learn a lot from it, and it'll probably make me think about things, even though it's this like totally fictional tale, and that's what I love about fiction. It drives me crazy when people say, oh, I really only read nonfiction. I'm like, no, you can learn just as much from fiction, and you should be reading that too. And I kind of feel like The House in the Cerulean Sea is one of those. So I am really excited to read lots of books this summer, as many as I can find the time to. And I'm hoping to get to at least 3 or 4 of these over the summer. Yeah, so what are y'all planning to read this summer? Do you have any books that are just coming out or will be available this summer? Let me know in the comments below. Give me some more ideas. Fill up my TBR. That sounds great. Bye, y'all.